Okay, so last night I went to see Iron Lung with my friend, and I've been thinking about it since, and I just really need to get my thoughts out of my head so I can focus on working on my actual videos right now. So this is just going to be a sort of off-the-cuff, unscripted, first thoughts type thing, based on my impressions of the movie. It's kind of a review, not really, I don't know what you call this. I haven't felt the need to talk about a movie immediately after watching it like this since I went to see Godzilla Minus One. So, I really don't know what to call this. I guess this is just a ramble. So that's what I'm doing. This is going to be mostly spoiler free, but if you just want to hear my thoughts on the movie in general, this is where you can go for it. Otherwise, if you don't want to hear anything at all and you just rather go see it yourself, I do recommend seeing it. It's very good. Big thumbs up. Amazing movie. Okay, so for those who don't know, Iron Lung, the movie made by Markiplier, is the story of Simon, a convict who gets sealed in a solid iron submersible and sent down into a ocean of blood, like a literal ocean of blood, in search of something vague, on the off chance that he can win his freedom. On the off chance that he can earn his freedom for his service. And almost the entirety of the movie is literally just Mark in this one room, essentially a sensory deprivation chamber, as his only meaningful way to interact with the world around him, outside of the lung, is to hit a button that takes an X-ray photo of whatever is in front of the submarine, and a speaker, a speaker system that lets him get in contact with the people that sent him down there. And with the exception of some brief flashbacks and this one time that the submarine is pulled back up fairly early in the movie, for them to attach a sample gathering claw, it is literally just Mark the entire time. You just see him and what he's going through, and sometimes you'll hear the other people talking to him. And the movie is really, really good at utilizing quiet. There are long periods where Mark is just navigating the ocean of blood with the map they gave him and the coordinates, and trying to just figure out where he's going, what he's doing, trying to find something at all. And the movie's really good at using this quiet time to build your expectation and manage it. This is where the movie really thrives. I've seen people complaining about the movie being too slow, but the slowness and the quietness is the point, because it's not just trying to scare you. Iron Lung is specifically attempting to build a sense of dread. And dread is different from normal. It's a specific kind of fear that relies on the build-up of anxiety. It is fear built around a sense of suspense in a way. And this is what Iron Lung is trying to do for the most part. What Iron Lung really wants to do is put the audience in Simon's headspace so they can feel that slow build-up of anxiety and fear and tension as you are just as trapped in the lung as Simon is. And at first, just the mere idea of being in this ocean of blood in this submarine is already enough. But as things get weirder and scarier, and you start to realize that there's more in here than anyone first thought, it utilizes that built-up tension masterfully. And then once you get to that point where you actually get a scare, it takes time again to make that feel normal, and then it builds up dread again, to the point that it can scare you again, and it does this a couple times. The movie's really good at making both you and Simon acclimate to a new reality, I suppose, to a new acceptance of this is just how things are, before pulling the rug out from under you, and then laughing in your face as you look up in betrayal at it standing over you, like, why would you do that to me? And it's like, because you asked for this. It's like, because you watched this movie and you wanted to see this happen. And this point of long quiet and low action are important for that, because it's important to build up a sense of normalcy. And it does this a few times, and every time it like pulls the rug out, it ramps things up until it really gets to like knuckle down and start fucking with your head, and it's so earned when it does that. When it really gets to the climax, it's so earned by that point. It's like the setup is so good for the payoff. It just takes a while to get there. And this is why it's not going to be a movie for everyone, because not everyone can handle those long, quiet spaces. Not everyone really enjoys atmospheric horror. Not everyone's really good with the quiet times. And that's fair. If you don't like that, that's fine. But like, the quiet and the slowness is not a problem. It's not, it is a deliberate artistic choice, and it is necessary for the kind of horror that Mark is trying to pull off. And it's really good. It does a really good job, because as Simon slowly starts to explore more of this just ocean of blood, you start to see like, hang on a second, this isn't right. This isn't adding up. Once you find out he's not just taking pictures but taking x-rays after he found what he thought was a skeleton, I actually leaned over to my friend and whispered, doesn't that kind of imply that might not have just been a skeleton? And they were like, yeah, it does. Because Kay is a lot more put together than I am, and I love horror, but I'm so bad with it. So the pacing is actually really good. It does drag in a spot, but I think that's just a natural consequence of this being his first time really making a movie, and just more of an extension of the general slower pacing overall. Before I get into more uncritical gushing about it though, I do want to say my biggest issue with the movie was the audio mixing wasn't always great. The voiceover at the beginning and some of the talking and some of the voices later on in the movie just are not loud enough. And like, if I watched this with subtitles, I would have been so much happier, because I couldn't make out a lot of what was said in some places, and it was driving me insane. But I mean, that's my only real issue. Also, some people may find the exposure lighting of the X-ray machine a little too bright. That might hurt your eyes. But considering that's my only issue with the guy's first ever actual movie, that's really good. That's really impressive. Because the movie was really good. Like, it was really well acted. It was like the tension was built so well. And Simon himself felt like such a human. Like, he reacted like a human does to things. He would get angry and then lash out and regret it. He would look at something he had to do and go, fuck this, and still do it because he still has to, but he's not going to do it without complaining. And there's this one scene that I will not spoil anything about it, but I will say it was the single most Markiplier scene in the entire film, and it was great. There's just all these touches that make him feel so human and realistic, and it really helps sell the movie. Let me just say, Simon is a much, much braver person than I am, because you would never, ever, ever get me in a fucking submarine. I don't care how long I would have to stay in prison otherwise. I'm not getting in one of those. That's terrifying. You would never get me in a submarine, you would never get me in a spaceship. No. I don't have claustrophobia, but I have a definite fear of being trapped inside a small space, surrounded by death. Because that is what the ocean is when you're at that depth. That is what space is. It is just death. It is a horrible, horrible death waiting out there. And Simon knows that. Everyone knows that. And so that's where part of the anxiety comes from, because the submarine, it isn't guaranteed to hold out. And that's terrifying. Oh my god. Because it's just terrifying, the thought of being down there. The thing is, I was not scared at the start of the movie. It doesn't start out extremely scary unless you have unless you're very claustrophobic. But it's so intriguing, and it builds to these scary moments and absolutely earns them. And what Simon goes through is absolutely horror, because he is trapped in what is essentially a sensory deprivation chamber that is his only lifeline. And he wants to live, and he's doing this so he can have a life, but it's made very clear, almost from the very start, he's not going to. Simon is a sacrifice. He is a sacrificial lamb on the altar of humanity's future. And he really, really doesn't want to accept that. And you, the viewer, do not want to accept that. But by the end, you really have no choice. The reason he's being sent down here, and this is not a spoiler per se, this is something you find out in the first 5 minutes of the movie, there's a thing happening called the Quiet Rapture, where the stars and planets have started to disappear, and the organization that sent him down there is hoping to find literally anything that can be used to do whatever. It's not really important. But what is important is that the desperation Simon feels to live is so viscerally human. Because the thing is, Simon is a convict, but you never find out what his actual crime was, at least not for certain, and he might not have actually been guilty, but that doesn't really matter. And you really don't have to know, it's not that important to the story. On both a meta and a narrative level, Simon's crime isn't important, because his criminal status is just the excuse needed to put him down there. His criminal status is just the justification needed to put him in the lung in the first place. That's all it is. And it says a lot about how we perceive criminals, no matter what their crime might be. Because, like, they don't even know his name. They just refer to him as convict for the majority of the movie. And at one point they even admit that they didn't get his name. They were just calling him convict the whole time. And he's trying so desperately to bargain and get his life back. He wants to live and no one else cares if he does. And that's heartbreaking. And that's part of the horror, because once he's down there, there's a point where he gets lost and he's just trying and running out of oxygen. And there's this theme of hope and human willpower. This drive to continue on that's honestly really beautiful. And it is also cosmic horror as well. I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end. I'm not going to spoil where it gets going. But once it does get there, it does feel earned. And it really does hammer home just how hopeless Simon's situation is. And it hammers home how much bigger all of this is than just one person, even if that one person feels like the most important and biggest thing in the world to us. And it hammers home the horrible beauty of trying to live and trying to find hope in a hopeless situation. Because that's what humans do. And there's something so quintessentially human about Simon and about this drive to live and this drive to hold on to hope, because that's kind of all we have as humans sometimes. It really does. The movie really is just very invested in saying, isn't it beautiful and horrible to be human sometimes? Are we not capable of being both amazing and awful at the same time? I love that this movie got so successful. I love that people showed up in droves to see this. I'm so happy that Mark's movie is a success. Because if the gaming industry has taught you anything, it's that a very, very, very long development time is not a promise of quality. And I knew this was his passion project, and I was so hoping this was going to be good. I really, really wanted it to be good, and it is, and I'm really happy for that. And I'm so happy that we're seeing more art made by smaller creators that's doing so well and just scaring the establishment, because the passion they have and the love for the medium and everything that they put into it is paying off in ways that the current industry's stuff isn't. Like, if you look at the net profit this movie made compared to the net profit of, like, anything else right now, it is astonishingly just way out there. It is incredible how successful this was. And obviously, monetary success is not an actual indicator of quality per se, so it's great that it's both. It is a quality movie that was very, very successful, that is currently very, very successful. Like, I can barely afford to spend anything on, like, entertainment or fun right now, and I still went to see this in the theater. I still wanted to see this in the theater and support Mark, and so many other people did, and that's great. And I'm so glad it paid off. I'm so glad I was able to set aside all hype and bias and look at this movie and objectively say, yes, this is good. And, like, I'm glad we're getting more art like that. Like this, Expedition 33, things like that, just the beautiful passion that is on display that people are putting into these projects is amazing, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that Mark's dream came true. I'm not really a Markiplier fan. I have nothing against the guy. I think he's cool. I've just never, like, his YouTube channel just isn't really my thing. Let's Plays, stuff like that just isn't really for me. That stuff just really isn't for me. But he's always been a really cool guy, and I've always been happy to see him successful or happy. And so to see this happen is so great. And Hour Long may not be a happy movie, but it is very obviously a product of passion. And while what's going on with Simon may be horrible, the movie is still And this is, honestly, this is one of my favorite things. The movie is still very, very clear that being human and being alive is a wonderful thing, despite everything. Like, okay, so like I mentioned earlier that there was a scene where he goes back up and he interacts with the people and you actually see their faces for like the only time in the movie. I don't think I mentioned the faces, I think I just mentioned that he goes up once. And while he's doing that, the woman he's talking to is like cleaning blood off the porthole. And because, you know, it's an ocean of blood and it drips back down, they have to clean it off again. And there's a shot where he's looking at her while they're arguing because he wants to get out and they're not letting him out, where the blood has dripped down over the porthole to make essentially make red bars over it, which shows that yes, he is in prison, but they are just as trapped as he is. Everyone is trapped by what's going on here. He has it the worst, but no one has it good right now in this situation. But they're still trying. They're still trying to make a future for humanity. And the movie's very invested in showing that despite hardship and despite everything people go through, life is still precious and worth living, and what we leave behind for other people is still important. And I like that. I like that hopefulness. I really like it when art looks at the horrible parts of humanity and still comes away saying, aren't you beautiful for being human? Is it not something wonderful to be alive? Despite everything, isn't it amazing that you're here? And I like that Mark decided to put that in his movie. Because despite everything that Simon goes through, he still wants to live. And when he knows he can't, he still wants to make sure other people can. People are worth that. Humanity is worth saving and worth continuing. So yeah, so I just had to get all that off my chest. I'm working on another video right now. I just could not focus on anything until I got my thoughts on this movie out. So yes, great movie. You should absolutely go watch it. Yeah, so I'm sorry for like the messy nature of this video, but I do hope at least someone enjoyed my rambling about it for a little bit. If people like this, maybe I'll do it again the next time I go see a movie that I really, really like. And I might make like a proper video on the movie when it comes out in DVD and all that, if people would like to hear my thoughts on it there when they're more coherent. So yeah.